For those that don't know, Hobby Lobby is a craft store company in this country that got into a lot of hot water here because they managed to push a bill through our Supreme Court that got passed granting them the right to use religious freedom as grounds to deny contraceptives to their own employees. Now, granted, the employees can go out and purchase contraceptives and use them in their own private time if they want to use birth control, but the company will not pay for them. The reason that this is a big problem, though, is that it started a really crappy precedent. Now companies are seeking to use, religious freedom as grounds to discriminate against people like blacks and homosexuals and anybody else they can find a religious justification to discriminate and prejudice against. Now that that's out of the way, the owner of this company is a guy named Steve Green. And recently at some kind of award ceremony thing, he stated that his next goal is to mandate a 4-year curriculum in high schools that is Bible-based entirely. And I mean public high schools. I don't mean private schools or anything like that. In private schools, you're paying for your kids' education, kind of like you would in college. So you're paying for them to be either religiously educated or like I got a bit of a religious boarding school experience, and you know what comes with it before you send them there. In public school, that's not the case. And what really bothers me about this is that public schools are already failing immensely. The public school educational model has completely fucking flopped. And I don't even understand why in public schools at this point they push so hard for kids to go to college. I don't know if you notice this, public schools, but you kind of need to make sure they're smart before they get there so they don't sit there and use their first 3 of their 4 years doing remedial courses and learning everything they should have learned in high school all the fuck over again, but this time they have no other choice but to pay attention, or they can just default on those couple of $100,000 worth of loans that you force kids to pay into and give them no other way to get out of them rather than be in debt the rest of their lives. That's not the real issue here, though. That's just a gigantic problem our country it just refuses to address or acknowledge and apparently doesn't want to do anything about, especially even with this bill that Obama wants to pass. But, getting back on topic, it bothers me that a guy's solution to this is to teach kids about Christ and teach them about the Christian religion and all the wonderful things it's given the world, and that it's important people know this because of the impact that it's had on society as a whole ever since its inception. And my question to Steve Green is, do you really think that people don't see what you're doing here? And can you not answer some serious questions? One, why? Why would you want to teach people about that and then lie to them about the impact it's truly had on the world? Christianity has completely butt-fucked many societies in this world and many cultures. It killed its way to the top by getting rid of heretical people that didn't want to believe in Christianity and wanted to do as they wish. 400 years ago, even 500 years ago, you'd be killed by the Inquisition if you were agnostic even, which is ridiculous. That's an idiotic rule to live under. You want to go praise the greatness of that and think that people wouldn't just become, like, let's say, atheists in massive numbers the more they knew about religion? In a way, it's sort of beneficial to the atheists. They get more atheists because the more people would learn about this crap, especially at the age of high school, which I consider to be an age of reasonable, questionability for people, when their ability to question is at an all-time high. It would be great for the atheists then, because now that they're learning all about science and they're learning all about this, they learn more about religion and go, well, that's a big pile of bullshit. Another thing I want to know here is, who are you trying to kid? Many people that live in the part of the country that Hobby Lobby is most prevalent in, here out in the southeast, they already know that reputation equals your religious faith. So if you're not religious, if you're not Christian, you really have no reputation in the higher social circles out here. There are so many business owners out here that go to church just so they can keep their business. I will not give out names, and people know what goes on, and they do what they can to keep it secret. That a lot of times their whole business success is based on whether or not they're showing up in church on Sunday, which I think is bullshit. And that's the kind of guy that Steve Green is. This Hobby Lobby dude is. if he didn't run Hobby Lobby, he probably would have owned what were called mega churches. These literally huge fucking auditorium-sized places that are churches with all this big flashy crap they spend like millions of dollars on they don't need. And it's just a big waste of time, energy, and effort, especially for a building that's technically only supposed to be open one day a fucking week. I've even seen one that was so ridiculous you had to pay your $20, donation or your thing for the collection plate before you get in, which bothered the hell out of me. So I'm like, okay, now we got a church so out of control, you got to pay a cover just to get the fuck in? Okay, great. There better be a good band playing. If I'm going to church and I got to pay a cover to get in, I better get a 2-drink minimum myself, and Static X better be there. Other than that, if that's not the case, I ain't fucking going. And I don't think Static X would be a band anymore, because they're not a band anymore, or wanted to be seen even dead in a church. Anyway, it's all just a money game. Hobby Lobby really doesn't give a flying fuck about their religious freedom, but they know that it's an easy way to get whatever it is they want. And guys like this capitalize on religion being incredibly easy to use to get what they want, because that's all people have been using it for efficiently for the last 200 some years in this country. Okay, ever since our inception, people have used religion and their religious freedom in order to accomplish whatever the fuck they wanted to. The Puritans sure as hell did this. Even we did this. We said, we don't want to live under the religious rule of these people in Britain anymore. We want to live under our own religious tyranny. So let's go bring it fucking a couple of thousand miles across the ocean, and then bring it to a new land and oppress those people. And ourselves. Can't forget about oppressing the shit out of ourselves and making ourselves feel guilty for being human. It's ridiculous. Hobby Lobby doesn't fool anybody. You want to use religion as a guise in order to get whatever you want, so you can make pretty much dominating the craft store industry easy for yourselves, because that's all it is. For those of you that don't live in the United States and you don't have Hobby Lobbies in your countries, it's just a craft store. So, like, if you know what Michael's is or anything like that, basically any arts and crafts sort of model shop, hobby store, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's one of those kind of places. And I mean, the fucker that owns this is going to be so arrogant and pompous that he wants to dictate how we should live and perceive in this country, based on his own personal success. And the thing that I really want to touch on here too is that a lot of these guys, they attribute so much of their success to Jesus and all this other shit, and they don't attribute any things that are going on in the world that are legitimately good besides their personal success. In fact, I would say that there are some people in this world, there are a lot of people in this world, who only become religious after they've managed to succeed in life. And then they just forsake all of their own hard work and to owe it all to God. God was the reason that I'm now a millionaire. Well, you wouldn't be thinking that if you weren't a fucking millionaire having to work 60 hours a goddamn week just to make ends meet. You'd be thinking, fuck God for putting me in this goddamn shitty dishwashing job. Fuck God for making my life suck. Fuck Christ and fuck all these people. That's exactly what you'd be thinking. But, oh yeah, the minute that $1 million comes down the pike and you get to sit on a fucking silver spoon all day and have your chillaxed, easy fucking life, man, yeah, God is out there. He's giving you all the fucking free handouts in the world. Just you personally, though. Oh, and your crowd of rich cronies, too. Because that's how these people fucking function down here, and it's the truth. Thankfully, I'm employed a little bit more abroad than having a local job here. So my personal employment is not in jeopardy by saying these things. But if I were a local business owner, my business would be online simply for me saying this, because anybody that shared a business space with me would more than likely be Christian based upon that shop's personal success. The more successful you are in this country, the more kind of sit in church every Sunday in the pew and tithe your money away for no good reason, the kind of motherfuckers you get. And that's just how it is. He's just like Jim Baker. He's just like, Jerry Falwell or Tammy Faye Baker. All those people involved in the Heritage USA thing. If you don't know what that is, look it up, read into it. It's easy to Google. It's the same thing. People that just use their faith as a means to and sometimes tax-exempt status. I don't know if they're going to go for tax-exempt, but based on religious freedom, but they might for Hobby Lobby. And if they do, well then yeah, it's just the Jim Baker thing all over again. And what Jim Baker did, if you don't know, Jim Baker used his tax-exempt status as a church in order to get millions of dollars in donations and not have to give away any of the money for taxes so he could build this thing called Heritage USA. It's not far from where I'm living, actually. It's just about 45 miles up the road from here. And the craziest fucking thing about this place is it was supposed to be like Jesus Disneyland. It was supposed to be this massive resort exodus place for all the Christians in the country. And they actually, at the time, they were trying to build this thing. It actually had more land bought than Disneyland was on. Both the one in California and in Florida. This place was supposed to be fucking huge. It was supposed to have a water park. The water park alone being bigger than Disneyland in Florida. That's a lot of goddamn water you're going to have to divert. The whole thing was a logistical failure, though. For one, the government, the IRS, had actually stripped the guy of his tax-exempt status, and he still refused to give him any of the money. And then when they realized that he embezzled a whole shit ton of people just to get the money anyway, and he was holding on to donations, they indicted him, and he was going to go to prison for 45-something years. The fucker only spent 5 years in prison, but he still got to give up $500,000 from that, and they ended up conning about almost all of the money he got from it in the first place. And while he was in prison, this Heritage USA place basically kind of just sat in ruin for a while. Nobody was allowed to go on it. They didn't have the money to keep it open, and there was this gigantic fucking eyesore just sitting over there. Part of it is still there, and I've actually seen it. You can drive by it. The hotel they were going to use is still there. It's infested with fucking rats, and it's infested with asbestos, and they can't even tear it down because of that, so it just sits there and fucking rots. And it's just creepy, this big monolithic edifice just in the middle of, you know, a blank fucking parking lot because they weren't able to develop anything else around it because by the time this thing was finished, he was going to prison. Now, like, another ministry has picked it up, and they're trying to do the same thing he did again, but try not to do it so illegally this time. But what my whole point here is that this is just what people like this do. They use their religion as a way to just get attention, do what they want, and they don't give a fuck about the ethics of it. They don't even want to associate the ethics of the religion they supposedly support with it. They just want to fucking tie their time and money away in order to make you give them money to further their own career, and then they call it ethical. Teaching people about the Bible in school will not make them smarter. It'll make them dumber. But I think in truth, that's what kind of these people want. They want people dumb enough in order to just do whatever they say. And religion has been time and time again proven to make that so fucking easy. You know, the Romans used to do it all the time. That's why you have Roman Catholicism. They used it as the rule of law. Shit, a lot of the way we do our justice system in this country is based on that Greco-Roman bullshit, which I don't think is all that fair or modern or just. I just think it's fucking empire building and beating your chest at people you think you have a system efficient enough to prove guilty or innocent, rather than look at the fact it doesn't have the right to because it's just as corrupt and disgusting and manipulative and two-faced as the people that you're using it to try to incarcerate or judge. There's my little rant on the justice system. When people try to send it down the educational pike, you do not make people smarter, you make them more subservient. And then you bastardize every other religion that's out there saying it's not as important as this because of reasons, which is not fair in the least. You're saying that Christianity is more important than anybody else's religion, and at the same time you're going to sit there and say, well, we believe in equality. Even though we fight for religious freedom to discriminate against gays and blacks and compartmentalize your personal religion and want to pry our fingers into your private life and tell you how to fuck to live using our religion, we vie for equality and personal freedom and the right to do whatever you feel in your own private space, even though we don't want you to have that. That's all it is. So fuck Steve Green, you know, and fuck all these other idiots who try to pass this goddamn crap. I mean, you're just a bunch of morons who try to lie to people and get them to believe you're trying to do something good with the world. You're not, okay? You know, I see it from the perspective that it shouldn't be up to them to always pay for contraception and stuff. I understand it from the economical point of view with what's going on with our health care. But the precedent that you set by doing so, I don't think is right. Okay? I really don't. I also don't think that many people understand why it is that places like Hobby Lobby try to get into prevalence and try to push these things, because they don't live in an area that's so gripped and choke held by religion. I never understood how this Bible Belt shit really was until I moved down here. Like I said, thank God I'm not employed down here, because my job would be in jeopardy. Thankfully, they can't stick their fucking church fingers into what I do for a living, because they'd be in more trouble themselves for trying to do so than I would for saying, you're not actually Christians, you're just money makers, and you're charlatans, and you use religion as a way of hiding that. And you use it also as a means to trick Congress and a government that's based more in Christian values than anything else to get what you want, because it's easier to do that than vie for it on your own, because that would require you getting off your fucking ass and doing some actual goddamn work and having to be a legitimately good person with a good cause for once in your entire career's existence. Anyway, so yeah, fuck Steve Green and fuck any of these other people. You know, I wanted to do this, by the way, as an angry rant, a really angry, pissed off rant, but I couldn't, because, you know, what is that going to add? You can say, fuck this guy, he's a worthless religious piece of shit, don't tell me how to live. But you're no better than they are then. You know, I guess I'm coming to realize that you're no better than what you go against when you just feed it all the energy to come off as bad as you know it really is, because then you don't look any better. You kind of just look like an ass. And I don't know. I'm going to try to take this approach to more topics in the future, rather than just come out of the gates with a chainsaw and try to shove it in the face of whatever topic I'm talking about. But anyway, until next time, I'm some guy in the internet, and so are you. Take it easy.